Welcome everyone to another video by Fringe Finance. Today we are going to walk through how to take out a loan on Fringe Finance. And the steps involved here are to select a chain, because Fringe works on multiple chains. We're going to deposit some collateral. We're going to take out a loan by borrowing some capital assets. And we're going to repay that loan in two different ways. One way is going to be using assets from my wallet, and the other way is going to be using collateral. A bird's eye view of what we're looking at here is on the center left. We'll be looking at the Fringe Lending facility within the overall Fringe Finance DeFi platform. And particularly, we're looking at the borrow functions. Now, there are other aspects there to the Fringe ecosystem, such as the Fringe Amplify and the Fringe Margin Trade leverage trading facilities. And there's also the Fringe USB stablecoin and Fringe staking and various other functions, which we won't talk about today. Looking more closely at the Fringe borrowing facility, we can see here with the highlighted component of this interaction diagram that we'll be focusing on the borrower functions, where the borrower can borrow capital, otherwise known as taking out a loan, and they can repay the loan, as well as depositing collateral and withdrawing collateral. Okay, let's see how we do this. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to choose the chain on which we wish to operate. Fringe Finance works on multiple chains, so in this case here I'm going to simply click the selector and choose the chain on which I wish to work on. In this case, we'll choose Polygon. My wallet switches the connection, and now we can see we're working on Polygon. The first step that I need to undertake is to deposit collateral. The collateral that we can deposit appears on the left-hand side of the screen here in collateral available for depositing. These tokens here are just tokens on the testnet. These are regular tokens. These are LP tokens. And in this case here, I have a certain amount of what we call Project 2 tokens in this case here. So I can deposit some collateral. And I could specify the maximum, but in this case, I'm just going to deposit 100 of these tokens. And now that is confirmed on the blockchain. We can see here that we have a deposited position of the Project 2 tokens that we just deposited, 100 of those. There's a certain loan to value ratio for this asset, and that gives me a borrowing capacity in this case here. I can borrow up to 234 equivalent to US dollars. So our next step is to take out a loan, and the way we do that is we simply select the borrow button, and up appears the list of assets that I can borrow. Fringe Finance supports multiple capital assets that can be borrowed, and in this case we have USDC, and it tells me here that there's currently a 0% APY being charged for borrowing this token, and that's such a good deal, I'm going to borrow that. And in this case I could borrow a maximum of 200 of these. Let's borrow 100. That is now confirmed on the blockchain. Fringe Finance shows me now that for this collateral position, I have taken out a loan of 100 USDC. And I can see at my account level position, I have $100 in debt, and I have remaining credit of $111.14. So the next step is to show how we can repay this loan. And we can repay this loan in one of two different ways, or a combination. Using assets from my wallet and I see here that I have a wallet balance of USDC of over 10,000 USDC, and that is certainly going to be adequate to repay this $100 loan. The second way I can repay a loan is using collateral, and we'll do that as a next step or as a second step. And in the first case, let us repay using assets from my wallet. To do that, I press the repay button, and I could specify the maximum, but what I might do is repay 75 USDC from my wallet and repay that. And that transaction is successfully confirmed on the blockchain. Now, we see here that we have remaining loan balance of 25 because we paid 75 of the 100 left. And our overall account position reflects that we have just $25 debt remaining, and we have a greater amount of remaining credit. Now, our next step is to show how we can repay this loan using collateral. And the way we do that is, again, we simply press the repay button, and we see that we have a function on the repay pop-up where I can repay using collateral. So I'll repay the remaining 25, and I'll submit that to the blockchain. Now, what Fringe is doing for us here is integrating with a DEX aggregator, choosing a DEX with appropriate asset pair that it can swap, and also a DEX with sufficient liquidity. And so we see this transaction is now confirmed on the blockchain, and it has repaid our loan using collateral that I had deposited. If we recall, I had deposited 100 Project 2 tokens, but now we have some of those Project 2 tokens were sold on a third-party DEX and swapped for the USDC that I repaid. So the intention with that facility is to make it much easier for people to exit their loan positions, and as we'll show in another video, it facilitates leveraged trading, where users can simply close a leveraged trade, such as a margin trade or an amplify trade, and they do not need to have the short asset or the capital asset on hand in their wallet to repay the loan. We'll talk more about that in a following video. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to withdraw our collateral. And the way we do that is fairly straightforward. Simply by pressing the withdraw button, and we specify how much of our collateral we wish to withdraw, and then we withdraw. And we can see now this transaction has been confirmed on the blockchain, and our user interface reflects that we have withdrawn that collateral, and now it's been withdrawn back into our wallet. So that really is what I want to show today, which is, just in summary, we learnt how to take out a loan on Fringe Finance by selecting the chain, depositing collateral, then taking out a loan, and then we repaid that loan in two different ways. One using assets from my wallet, and the last using collateral. And then finally we withdrew the collateral. So thank you very much for listening in today. Take care and come back soon.